Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Oh, I forgot to put this light on and it's still flickering. I'm going to have to turn it up. Okay, I've given up on Foundation Friday because Charlotte has released yet another new product. And having said that, I wasn't going to buy it because it was too similar to the other palettes. I then saw another swatch yesterday and realised it was nothing like it. And now that I have it in my hand, I'm glad I did, because they are very different to that initial swatch that I saw, and I don't have any duplicates. So today I'm going to do a first impression of the new palette of pops in Starlight. Now, I'm not doing Foundation Friday. I'm just going to have to put that on hold because I'm also filming for next week. You know, you're getting a video a day next week of red lips. So that will be coming back, but I will put, just for the sake of you seeing another foundation, which was the one that I was about to do and will do next, I will put on the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric Foundation and the base, the primer in Light Master Primer to go with it. And I will be right back and we'll go through the palette. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, so I put my base on. Excuse my frog in my throat. So here is the new palette of pops. It's just like Supersonic Girl. Comes in a sparkly box, like so. And a sparkly case, like so. And you have 5.2 grams of product in total. And you also have your prime, enhance, smoke and pop. Okay, now I wasn't going to buy this, as you know if you saw my live, because it looked too similar to what I already have in other palettes, and it's possibly still the case for the first two shades. But when I saw the swatches yesterday from somebody else, I realised that this wasn't as similar as I thought it was going to be. So the last two shades, as you can probably see in this light, are more green toned than I had imagined. So whereas I was saying in my live that this one was identical to Golden Goddess, it is nothing like Golden Goddess. And this one I was saying was, I can't remember, but they're green. So if anything, we need to be looking more to the Rebel palette, which I will have a look at in a minute in terms of, I'm going to get to that. So I'm going to do a section where I do comparisons. Okay, so we have our prime, enhance, smoke and pop. And I've done 3 swatches for you because I was reading up yesterday about these palette of pops. And Charlotte talks a lot about how these are very good if you use them wet. So I've done 3 sets of swatches. The first swatch is dry, the second swatch is wet, and the third swatch is with the Colour Fix Potion, which works really beautifully. And I think you can see it kind of helps it to be even more uniform. So I really like this stuff. What else can I say? I like it. But you can also wet it, or you can put a serum or something underneath, which would do a similar thing. It's just will help to make the glitter in the pop shade stick. Okay, so I will insert the swatches here. Okay, so let's get on to comparisons. So when I first saw a swatch of this on Really, I thought that this resembled very closely the pop shade of the Uptown Girl. But let me show you the pop shade of the Uptown Girl, because this actually has got more pink in it, so that you can see the comparisons alongside. So can you see that? Now, it's more cool toned, definitely, than the one. So that's Uptown Girl, and that is the prime shade. Not a huge amount of difference, and if it had been just that, I probably wouldn't have purchased the palette. Okay, not a massive amount once you get it on your lids. So if you have the Uptown Girl, it's quite similar but slightly cooler. All right, now the second shade, moving on to the second shade, we have the enhanced shade. So let me just clean off my fingers and I will show you the enhanced shade of the palette of Pops. Okay, so that's the enhanced shade of Starlight palette of Pops. Now when I saw this, I thought this looked similar to the pop shade of the Rock Chick, which I have here. Let me just get that one for you. Here we are. And so let me swatch you. You can see they are very similar. And again, if it had been for these two shades, let me just swatch that down here, I would not have bought the palette. So this one here is Rock Chick, this one here is Starlight. So you can see Starlight's got slightly more pigment in it than the Rock Chick. So it's slightly darker. It looks slightly darker because it's got more pigment in it. But again, not enough difference for me to purchase this palette. However, we now come to the two shades which I don't think you can compare to anything. So the next shade along, we have the smoke shade. Okay, so let me just show you the smoke shade. Right, I've put that on my third finger. I need to remember that. Now, the only green pop shade that Charlotte has is in the Rebel look. So I'm going to get you the Rebel, and I haven't got it in front of me, so I'll be right back. Okay, so this one is the Rebel, and this one is Starlight. Now, if you can see, this one is a lot greener, sort of a brighter green. This one is more of a khaki green. Let me just swatch you the difference between those two. So this is Starlight and this is the Rebel. Now you can see that once you put it on, it actually looks almost brown. It's sort of a browny green. So Shoshana was asking about palettes that it would go with, and I think this would work alongside brownie shades. So even though it's a cool palette, I don't think you will have any problems teaming that up with some kind of tan brownie shades, because it is khaki green, but it's sort of moving towards the brown side. Okay, so lastly we have the Pop. And again, it's green. So the pop shade is the Rebel, and so to show you the Rebel again, you will see that this is more of a lighter mint green. This one is a darker green, and I will swatch the two again for you on this part of the arm, and you will see that this is the Rebel, this is Starlight, so they are not the same. Now let's get to, is it worth it? I think the shadows are beautiful. They're very pigmented, they are very sparkly, and they give a wonderful effect. I think if, like me, you've collected a lot of palettes on the way, and you have the Rebel, you have the Rock Chick, and you have Uptown Girl, you are going to get similar shades, but they're not identical. So I still don't know whether it was worth it for me, but because I saw that it was more towards the green side, and I've actually only got one green pop shade from Charlotte, it was worth it for me. It just depends on how much you love the pop shades and whether you have those palettes. But I stick with what I'm saying. The only other one that I compared it to, which I have in front of me, is Legendary Muse, which has got a gold pop shade. And actually, it doesn't compare to any of that because it's too warm and this is cool. So I was reaching there. It just was the fact that the swatch that I saw must have been in quite a warm light, so it appeared gold. But it really doesn't compare to Legendary Muse at all. Okay, so it just depends on your preference for the pop shades. I think it's absolutely beautiful, but it's a weighing up exercise. I have to say that I personally prefer Supersonic Girl because I love the shade range, and they are quite different to any of her existing ones, and I just prefer warm shades. But if you like cool shades, then I think you're going to love this palette of pops. Now the other thing, before I finish on this, and then I'm going to do a quick look, is that I said to you before that about synchronicity, that there's always symmetry, I should say, between her palettes. And that was when I saw that the original swatch that I saw on Really Ree made me think this was sort of silver brown, and I thought that there was a symmetry between that palette of pops and her last year's curry palette. As you know, if you don't know why I call it the curry palette, this was last year's Instant Eye palette. The reason I call it the curry palette is if you give it a good sniff, it smells of curry powder for some bizarre reason that nobody's been able to explain. To be fair, I haven't asked them. Now, it would go with some of the cooler tones here. So this is quite cool. And this is quite cool. So you could use the silvers and they would go. In terms of the greens, you could try them with some of the browns. It just doesn't fit as well as Supersonic Girl fit with the other Instant Eye palette, the one that she brought out, the not Instant Eye palette, the Stars in Your Eyes palette, she's called it this year. It doesn't have the same kind of symmetry, and as much as I thought it was going to be. So just be aware of that. So now all that remains is for me to do a look with this palette of pops, and I'm just going to try something out. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, you can see I was just testing this out over the colour Chameleon in Amber Haze. So you can see it kind of adds, each of those shades adds a different dimension to the shades. It kind of gives you brown, but with more of a kind of green reflect or a gold reflect over the top. So you can sort of use it with warm shades. But you know what? I've been sitting here wondering about how to use this palette. And I do think this is going to be what people get a bit stuck with, actually, because it's quite a cool palette. And I think it'd be easy to put it with something like the Rock Chick. But even Uptown Girl is a bit on the warmer side. So it's about sort of, I think with blacks and with silvers, it's fine because it's very cool. But a lot of Charlotte Tilbury's palettes are quite warm. So what I'm going to do to start off with, and then I'm going to add, I thought about doing Golden Goddess and then incorporating it in that. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start a look. I've put some of the Carla Fix potion, which if you've just seen my swatches, I think is really going to help. I'm going to start by using it on its own. And then what I will do is add matte shadow to it if I need to. That way you can see what it looks like if you use it on its own. I may not use all the shades, but I will use some of them, and it's good that I've got a gold top. I've got a grey top on as well, so it's a bit of a cooler shade. So I'm going to just get my brushes and let's get going. Okay, I'm going to see if these apply, if you can apply them with a brush on top of this Colour Fix potion, because I think you can. It's just we're so used to applying these pop shades with your fingers. Let me do that with the brush there. I'm having a bit of a play because that way you can see what they look like if you were to apply them with a brush. And then I'll put this one on this side with my finger. Now, you don't need to get the Colour Fix potion if you don't want to. If you just use a serum or something that's going to go a bit tacky, then you can do so. Now, obviously that looks a lot better, so I'm just going to go over this side. Now, that's the prime shade of Starlight. All right, and I'm just going to take some of that underneath and in here, just this side, just to lighten up the corner there. And then I am going to I'm going to go into this dark smoke shade, or am I? No, I'm going to go into the pop shade, which is a sort of lighter green, and I am going to take that with my finger and I'm just going to press that onto the outer corner. I was going to try and get it into my crease, but I'm not going to do that. Let me just press that into that outer corner. So I think I'm going to take this to the middle. And while I'm playing, I'm then going to wipe my finger and I'm going to take the smoke shade and I'm going to take that right at the end. This way you can see all the colours of almost all the colours, not the enhanced shade. Okay, now with a smudge brush, let's see if this works. And I might actually, yeah, let's do this. I'm going to wet the brush. So with the smudge brush, I'm going to put some on the smudge brush and wet the brush, and I'm going to take that along the top lashes and just experimented to see if you can actually use this as a palette. There we go. When it's wet, it's a lot easier to use as a liner. So I'll just take a little bit more and spray. I'm using Fix Plus. It doesn't have to be Fix Plus. It can be water or it can be any setting spray. Not the all-nighter one, but any of the other ones. Just because the all-nighter one is actually a setting spray. The others are more kind of a... They're just different. The all-nighter one actually fixes your makeup on. It's more like hairspray. Whereas the others have got, they're more about refreshing your makeup. So I'll put some of that along there. So this, I'm using the smoke shade and some of it underneath. So if you can see that, I've kind of graduated it. And as the brush is still damp, I'm just going to tuck some more in the corner there. Now, because I've got hooded lids, I really don't want to take that sparkle up into my socket. So that's when I'm going to turn, and to show you how you can use some of your browns, I'm going to use the a mixture. I'm going to mix together the Enhance and Smoke shade of the Golden Goddess. Okay, so I'm just mixing them together on a blending brush, and I'm just going to take that and blend it into my socket. That looks okay. Now, can you see what I mean about it actually going with brown? You can get it to go if you've got a lot of warm colours. You can get this palette to go with some of your tanned, if you want to pet them up a bit for night time. Be a great one if you've got like a palette to use if you're going to a party in the evening and you've got some brown neutral shades on your lids in the day. Then you could just pop this over the top. Okay, and I just blend a little bit of the Smoke shade on its own underneath where I've put that pop shade. And then just using, well, I was going to use the prime shade from the Golden Goddess. Is this going to be too much? Oh, who cares? I'm using the prime shade from the palette of Pops just to highlight under my brow. Although I'd probably be inclined at this stage to use something a bit more matte. Yeah. So I would just, because you've got quite a bit of sparkle on the lids, to just balance that out a bit, I would rather use the prime shade from the Golden Goddess. And if you wanted to add some sparkle, the place really to add it in terms of a highlight on your pinky and in here. Alright, then what I would do, I'm not going to do this now because it'll make it too long, is pop some black eyeliner on, add some mascara, and I will do a photograph of the finished look at the end. I also wanted to quickly show you that I succumbed to Pillow Talk Superstar Lips because I just love Pillow Talk, and I thought I'm putting in an order, why not? So I thought I would show you that on my lips, and then I will finish for today. And don't forget to join me next week for a full week of red lip looks I've been filming in advance. All right, let me just go and get this lipstick. So, Superstar Lips in Pillow Talk. I love that. Okay, thank you for watching, and I will put the rest of my makeup on and you will see it in the end picture. So thanks for joining me, and I really hope to see you next week, joining me each day. I'm not going to be doing any more videos at the weekend because I'm busy filming ahead for next week because Jack's on half term and I've got a couple of things I've got to get to next week. So I'm filming ahead, but you will be seeing me every day next week. And just to finish with one final tip, today I used Charlotte's loose powder. I haven't been enamoured of it recently, and I've been going back to the airbrush flawless finish powder. But just a little tip, because it was making me look a bit dry, is I tried it today and then sprayed some MAC Fix Plus or a setting spray, and it just brought out the beauty of the powder and made me look less dry, as I hope you can see. And so there we have the finished look. I'm not sure about the sparkle in the socket there, but that's because I have hooded lids, but I think it does a pretty good job. And you can also, it will combine beautifully with the Rebel palette, okay, really beautifully, if you have that palette. Okay, so take care, and I will see you on Monday. Bye bye.